Hey everyone, welcome back. I just got done mopping in here and it made me remember that on my mopping video from over a year ago, if you haven't seen it, I will link it in the description down below. That went like super crazy. It's like got 1.5 million views, which it blows my mind that many people watched that video. But someone commented on that video and asked me if I would mind doing like an update on my floor now video, and so I'd be glad to do that. I'm just gonna go ahead and update you like the condition of my floor that it's in now, how my mopping has changed a little bit since I filmed that video, and then we will address some of the other concerns that are in those comments as well. So I'm gonna show you the floor when I get done, but I need to stop and rest. It is hot, I'm sweaty, and I still have a rug. I pulled the rug, it's outside, or it's gonna be outside. I gotta go scrub it in the driveway and get it clean. So while the rug is out of here, I can show you what the floor looks like. So the condition of the floor now is pretty much the same as what it was. It's not dull, the finish is not dulled, it is not buckled in any places. I don't think that this is real hardwood. When we moved here, the house was already like, I think 14 years old. We did not build this house. We did not install this floor. It was already here when we moved in. They claimed on the listing when we looked at the house that it was real hardwood floors is what was on the listing. Now that I've lived on them for almost 4 years, I don't think they're actual real wood. I think they're like fabricated wood. I don't think it's laminate, but it is not buckling. The hot water that I use has not affected it in any way. I will tell you that not long after we moved here, we left to go to my parents' house for the weekend. They live about 3.5 hours away from us. And on our way out the door for the weekend, I started the dishwasher so that I wouldn't have dirty dishes sitting for 3 days and come home to the house smelling bad. So I went ahead and just started it on our way out the door. We came home 3 days later and apparently the dishwasher had leaked or something, and there was water all in the kitchen, and we would walk on the floors and water would squish up. When we would step down, it would squish up between the boards. So apparently it had sat there for like 3 days and the floor it's not buckled, it's not warped, it's not molded, it's not anything. So I don't know what this floor is. I'll show you the little nicks and scuffs, but the finish is not dull. It is still shiny. It's not like it has ruined the finish or anything like that. Now, as far as the Tide Pod goes, I started using that when we first moved in here, because like I said, they claimed that these were real wood floors, and I have never had real hardwood floors up before moving into here. So I did not know what was safe to use on them or not use on them, and I bought this Swiffer that was formulated for the wood floors, but it wasn't working. When we moved in, I don't know what the people that lived here before us did. It was terrible. Me, the kids, and my parents had come in town to help us, came to the house first on move-in day, while Jason and some other people were loading moving vehicles like 30 minutes we were 30 minutes away. We moved 30 minutes from where we were. So we had time to come in because I wanted to sweep, I wanted to vacuum, I wanted to like clean all the bathrooms and the showers and the toilets and the sinks before anybody needed to use those things, because you just don't know. I got everything done except the mopping. I didn't get anything mopped, but I got it swept and vacuumed, and they pulled in the driveway, and I thought, well, might as well wait to mop anyway because we're gonna be in and out, tracking stuff in and out. I'll just wait and mop once everything's unloaded and in the house and put away. By the time we went to bed that night, we all had to take showers, but the bottoms of my feet were black. They were so nasty from the floor, and I had swept and I had vacuumed. So I don't know what was on this floor when we moved in here, but it grossed me out so bad. So I went immediately and got this, well, I had already bought it, the Swiffer, the next morning, and I started Swiffering everything. And I had to Swiffer and Swiffer and Swiffer. And the pads were yucky, but it was like the floor was still dirty. I was still getting stuff all over my feet. The kids were filthy because they were, laying on the floor, rolling around on the floor, being a 6-year-old at the time. an 9-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 9-year-old at the time. They were sitting in the floor. We had a lot of people here. They had to sit in the floor, and their legs were filthy, and the floor wasn't clean. And I tried everything, but I was scared to use certain stuff. So my sister told me about this hack with the Tide Pod and the little bit of Mr. Clean or Lysol or Pine Sol or whatever you want to use, the Fabuloso or whatever, that she was using on her wood floors. Now she lives in a very, 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 very old home, and her wood floors are real. They are the real deal. They are original to the house wood floors. So I thought, well, if it doesn't hurt her floors, then it can't hurt these. Surely not. And I expressed my concern to her. Doesn't that hurt your wood floors? She said, not at all. In fact, it has made them look much better, has restored them. I said, okay, I'll try it. So that's why I made the video, was because I didn't know. And I thought perhaps somebody else out there was in the same boat and maybe that could help them. Sorry for the noise. Colson is upstairs throwing a basketball in his hoop over his door, and it's really loud. So that's why I made the video. But I only used the Tide Pod until I could get that, whatever that gunk was, whatever that film was that those other people had left on this floor. Once I had gotten that, plus all the residue from the Swiffer had built up, and I think the Swiffer was attracting more, and it would dry and leave the film with the dirt trapped in it, and then I would do another layer next time I Swiffered, and so on and so forth. So the Tide kind of cut through all of that. So once I finally got it all off the floor, then I don't use the Tide Pod anymore. I only use a little splash of the Mr. Clean. That's all I use at this point. Now I will throw a Tide Pod in occasionally, once every 6 months, just for good measure, for a spring cleaning, a deep clean. But that's it, because we do have a dog. She goes outside multiple times a day. So the kids go outside and play, and they track things in. So wear and tear over 6 months, it kind of builds up, and I will just do a Tide Pod just to kind of pick up anything that may be left on the floor. But I do not do that every single time anymore. I just mainly did it for that one video, so just to show what I had learned. That was it. It's not an every single time I mop thing. I just want to make that clear. Somebody else also asked me, why would I vacuum and sweep and not just vacuum? The reason for that is there's so much grass and sometimes little pebbles or rocks that get tracked in from the kids playing, or they find treasures outside, acorns and rocks and things, and they bring them in the house like little kids do, and they end up on the floor. Or there might be food like popcorn seeds. Somebody likes popcorn in this house, and there's popcorn when we have popcorn movie night on Friday nights. Popcorn seeds get dropped, stuff like that I don't necessarily want stuck in my vacuum cleaner. So I sweep all that stuff up first, and then I just run a vacuum. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'll run the vacuum just to pick up anything that the broom had left behind. That's why I do both. Because I just can't afford to buy a new vacuum cleaner because it sucked up a rock or a popcorn seed or something like that and breaks my vacuum cleaner. Somebody else said, well, not somebody, several people said, use Dawn dishwashing liquid instead of Tide. I don't want to do that because I don't want to have to rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse. Because even if you use a tiny little couple of drops, you're gonna have to rinse. It's gonna suds up, and I don't want to fool with it. Also, people were complaining about me using chemicals on the floor instead of something like Dawn or vinegar or whatever because of the dog. Well, Dawn dishwashing liquid is what got our dog before Willow sick. She got extremely sick, and we'll talk about that in a second. So that's one reason I don't use the Dawn. Somebody else said vinegar. I don't like vinegar. I will use it in our laundry. I will pour it in the washing machine in the little agitator where it dispenses for the rinse for things like Jason's uniforms, stuff that I need to just the dog's towels and blankets and things like that. I can handle it to pour it in there and close the lid and walk away and close the door and don't go back in that room. Or I can handle it long enough to put it in the toilet, close the lid, and then come back later and scrub it and flush it. But if I mopped my whole house in it, that would give me a really bad headache. So I don't use the vinegar. And then the same with the Murphy's oil soap. I do not like the way it smells. I really don't like, it's like the vinegar. Some people love the way it smells, and I do not. I cannot imagine my entire house smelling like that. I don't like it. So if I don't want my house to smell like it, why would I use it? And it's be expensive and it's somewhat hard to find. So that's why I don't use that. Some people commented that the O-Cedar mop bucket that I was using, they now make a new one that has the 2 compartments to keep it separate for the dirty water and the clean water. Or a whole bunch of people were saying get a little small trash can from Dollar Tree and set it down in my bucket for the same purpose. I don't do that because for the same reason, when you wash your hands and you turn the water on and then you wash your hands and now your hands are clean, and then you touch the faucet with your clean hands that you just contaminated that faucet with the bacteria that was on your hands before you washed them. It's the same concept. So the water is only clean for the very first time. As soon as you put that mop back in that bucket, once you put it in the clean water, the water's now not clean anymore because the stuff is in the mop fibers. Whether you spin it and then put it in the water or not, however it works, every time that mop is still not clean and it goes in that water at some point when you're mopping. So now that water is not clean anymore. So that's just a marketing trick that they're trying to spin, pun intended, to get you to buy a new product, because now it's new and improved, and it's really not. It's the same exact thing. Now you have 2 buckets of dirty water and not a clean and a dirty. Does that make sense? So that's why I don't fool with it, just mop. Let's see, the no rinsing. They want to know, did I rinse the floor? If you want to rinse your floor, rinse your floor. I'm not going to tell you it's bad to rinse your floor. I do know that the Mr. Clean solution that I use, it specifically says on it, the only time you need to rinse is if you're going to use it on a food contact surface, like your kitchen sink or countertops or something that food is going to touch. That is the only time you need to rinse. And it specifically says on a floor that you do not need to rinse, as long as you dilute it. And it's very diluted, so you don't have to rinse. The Tide, I don't rinse either. It does not suds up like Dawn dishwashing liquid would. Yes, it's meant for laundry, but if you read on it, you're supposed to put 2 pods in a laundry load. So, and I don't use 2. And the thing with the detergent is it's formulated specifically in the washing machine to pull the dirt from the fabric into the water and not go back into the fabric. I don't know how it works, but that's the science behind it. Yes, you rinse your clothes in the washing machine, but it's the same concept of putting that mop in the clean water. The fibers are going in that clean rinse water because now the stuff came out of your clothes into the clean rinse water, but your clothes are still in that water with the stuff in it. Does that make sense? So not everything gets rinsed out of your clothes. So I don't fool with rinsing. There's no residue on the floor. It's not sticky. It's not tacky. It's not dull. I'm not worried about it. And if Tide was dangerous for pets, then it would say on it, don't wash your dog's bed or blankets or towels or anything like that in the Tide because it's harmful to animals. And it doesn't say that. Okay. Another thing that people seem to be very concerned about is why I was not dumping my mop water either outside or down the toilet. Okay, so there's some reasons for that. Not that I owe an explanation, but I'm just gonna tell you why and hope that it clicks with you as to my reasoning behind this. The reason I don't dump it outside in the yard is because I don't wanna kill the grass and I don't wanna kill any plants if I dump it in the flower bed. And then weeds are fine, but I work hard to not kill my plants. I have not killed this plant, and I'm very proud of myself for not killing it. I'm not killing the plants, but also, like I said, the Dawn dishwashing liquid, our dog before Willow ended up with pancreatitis because Jason scrubbed the patio where the grill is. He moved the grill, everything off the patio. He scrubbed the patio with just Dawn, I'm telling you, just Dawn and water. That's it. And it really wasn't that much Dawn. He used a scrub brush, he scrubbed it, hosed it off really well into the grass. I mean, he like rinsed and rinsed and rinsed and rinsed to make sure there was no soap left on it at all. She lit the soapy, greasy water, where he had scrubbed from where the grill was and just everything else. And she got sick. She got pancreatitis. We took her to the vet. It was very expensive. It was months and months and months of dealing with this sickness. And he told us then, the vet told us then, do not put cleaning stuff, whether it's Dawn, whether it's anything else, out there where they can lick it. Don't put it anywhere near them because it will make them sick. And that was what it was. We said, don't you think it was like the grease from the grill mixed in with it? He said, it could have been, but more than likely it was the Dawn dishwashing liquid. So I'm just not gonna dump mop water that has chemicals, cleaning stuff in it out there where she can lick it. I'm just not gonna do it. And our yard is on a slope this way, and this person to this side of us, he has 2 dogs or 3 dogs, 2? I think he has at least 2 dogs. Then the person on the other side of him also has 2 dogs. I'm not gonna have it run into their yards and make their dogs sick either. That's why I don't dump it outside. And then also down the toilet, I'm not putting it down the toilet because then I have to clean the toilet and clean the floor around it from the splatter. And our toilets have issues. I don't know, again, with this house, we didn't know until we moved in here, this house does not have good plumbing, and apparently it doesn't have good electrical either. We're having some electrical issues. So it's been a pain. We have 3 toilets in this house, and 2 out of 3, we are unstopping them at least twice, maybe 3 times a week. It's absolutely ridiculous. Jason's just like, you've got to be kidding me. He'll come home from work and be like, this toilet stopped up or that toilet stopped up. And it's really not anything that we do. It's just they, for whatever reason, they stop up. And we did have a plumber come out and look at them, and he said that it is the way that the pipe is laid in the foundation. Like it's at a wrong angle, and the only way to fix it is to bust up the foundation and relay the pipe. Well, who has money for that? Not us. And time and pay, nope, not gonna do that. So we just have to kind of baby the toilets and don't put anything down them than is absolutely necessary. So I'm not flushing any of that stuff down the toilet. No, because that's what, can you imagine if I flushed that stuff down the toilet and it overflowed? Then I would have a whole nother huge mess to clean up and start all over again. No, thank you. I will just dump it in the sink. So let's talk about the sink. One reason I dumped it in the sink was so that you could see. There's no way, even if I could dump it in the toilet, and I normally do dump it in the toilet, which I don't, but even if I did, let's just say that's how I normally do it, these bathrooms are so tight, it's only enough for like one person to get in there. There's no way I could set a tripod up and get it angled in a way that you could see the water going into the toilet. You just couldn't. So this was the best way for you to be able to see the water going into the, being poured out, okay? So people are saying, ooh, that's disgusting, I would never do that. Don't. Nobody's telling you. I did not say that was not the purpose of the video, was to tell you to pour it in your sink. That is not what I was doing here. Please don't misunderstand that. The germs that are off that floor are more than likely already dead, because the Mr. Clean that I use, I don't know why, I looked at it today and they must have changed their label, but originally on their label it had said it kills 99.9% of bacteria. That was the main reason I was using the Mr. Clean, just to get, because I didn't know what these people before us left in here, and I wanted to kill whatever nasty germs were left from the people before us. So it's not on their label now, so I don't know if they changed their formula, but I don't think so. It doesn't say new formula. I think they just, whatever person in the marketing team decided to take that off the label for whatever reason. So the germ plus the hot water is gonna kill them. The germs are already dead, and if they're dead, they can't make us sick. That's the whole point of having an antibacterial or something, is to kill the germs so that they can't make you sick. Another thing is, I don't use my sink to prepare food. If you've watched my cooking videos, you know that. I do not dump fruits and vegetables into a sink and fill it with water and wash them all around. That's not how I do it. If I'm gonna wash fruits and vegetables, I put them in a colander and I hold them up out of the sink and wash them that way, spin them dry. They don't touch the sink, because the sink is gross, because gross things go in the sink. Even though I sterilize it, I just don't do that. Other things besides mop water, that's basically just dirt at that point that I'm pouring in there, go in that sink, that grosses me out. When I bake a turkey or a chicken, that's all in the sink. You have to wash off, not with soap, but you have to rinse off and wash inside and out raw meat, like a whole bird. You have to get the giblets out, all that kind of stuff. You have to rinse it inside and out. Raw pork chops, you gotta rinse all that grit from the bones where they were cut and blood off of it. All that kind of stuff. Steaks, you gotta rinse off after you open them. That's raw meat and blood in the sink. I'm not taking it outside to rinse it with the water hose, and I'm not gonna do it in the bathroom over a toilet. So it has to be done in the kitchen sink. That's where you do it. So if it's okay for that kind of stuff, the E. coli, raw eggs, y'all don't have a problem with that, but germs that are probably already dead from a floor. So you see what I'm saying? It's kind of like, why is one okay and not the other? I'm not trying to be ugly. I'm just telling you this is my reasoning. So after I do that, whether it's mop water, whether it's raw meats or raw eggs or anything like that, the sink gets sterilized immediately with Microban and Dawn dishwashing liquid, hot water, all that stuff. I scrub it, and the countertops and the backsplash, everything around the sink. I used to work in a restaurant. It's ingrained in me. I cannot not clean and not sterilize. That's why I love a stainless steel sink, because stainless steel is very easily sterilized, not sanitized, sterilized. That is why hospitals, operating rooms use stainless steel operating tables, stainless steel instruments to operate with, because they can be sterilized, not just sanitized. Those are two totally different things. And it gets sterilized every night, because dirty dishes get put in it all day with our germs on it, to where we've eaten on forks, drank out of cups, used dishes, whether it's just us or company that comes over. Also dishes that I use to prepare our meals with, whether I'm breading raw chicken and now there's salmonella in dishes that I was breading them in, raw meats, whatever, a bowl that I had raw meat in that I was mixing up to make meatloaf, that has raw meat and salmonella germs in it. It's got to get washed, and it goes in the sink. Let's see. I also wash my hands in that sink. Well, what happens to the germs that were on my hands? Now they're in the sink. So those are in the sink. I have to clean it after that. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's everything that I took notes with. Jotted down some of the most popular comments. So I hope that explains some things. If you don't like to dump something in your sink, please don't do that. That's your house. You do what's best for you and your family in your home. If you don't want to use chemicals and you'd rather mop with vinegar, please mop with vinegar and don't use the chemicals. If you want to dump your mop water outside on your plants, please go do that. If that works for you, then that's wonderful. But this is what I do. This is how I do it. And I'm just simply sharing a little tip or a trick in case somebody out there might need some help like I did, and then maybe I can help someone. That's all. That's the only reason I made that video. It wasn't to start drama or anything like that. Let me show you the floor, and then I'm gonna go outside and scrub the rug. Okay, as you can see, there's no buckling, there's no stains. It's not dull. It's still pretty and shiny. Now, there are a few spots, like right here, that are scuffed up. But that's from their furniture. Somebody dragging the furniture or like dropping something. But that is like a scuff mark. So there's a few of those. See, like there's some here. Right here, and then there's one here. But overall, it's really not bad. So now the rug is outside. I'm gonna go wash that and let it dry, and then we'll be done. Okay, that's all I've got for you. I hope this video was helpful and informative. And I appreciate all the love and support that you guys have shown me over the course of this 1.5 years or so that I've been doing YouTube. And again, that mopping video will be linked in the description below. Sorry, it is a little weird, but it was one of my very first videos, and I'm totally stepping outside my comfort zone with this. I still am, and I'm learning as I'm going, so it's not gonna be the best video in the world, and I apologize for that, but just bear with me and give me some grace, and we appreciate all the support, and we will see y'all in the next video. I love you. Bye.